The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for tuning in to another Casey Lau's Money Tip Show here. And today we are talking about the smart financing and how you can get your home loan application successfully applied. We have an expert here. His name is Gary Chua, and he has been a very regular speaker. Will talk on many of the property seminars, and he has more than 11 years of banking experience. And I guess he's one of the most suitable person to actually teach you about this thing. And I welcome Gary. How are
Hi, good
you?
morning, everyone.
Yes. So
I'm good, Casey.
I think you just give me one more minute. I'll do some quick sound check, make sure everything is okay. So if you can hear my voice, you can hear Gary just now saying good morning to everybody, and just type in the chat box telling where you are logging in right now. Where are you from? Are you like in the office or like I see Parames from Ipoh. Good morning. We see PC from Kuching. We got someone from Kuching listening to you. Subang, Daniel from Subang. Wow, great, great.
Oh,
And
super.
wow, awesome. So yeah, we have another one from Miri, and basically we have all people around the Malaysia. So let's get started.
Wow.
Everything's working fine.
Okay. A very good morning, everyone. First of all, thanks a lot for your time, for spending a beautiful Tuesday with us today. A quick introduction about myself. My name is Gary Chua. I have more than 11 years of working experience in both the local banks as well as in the international bank, where I turned my extensive experience and knowledge in the banks into an edge in my property investment journey, will allow me to accumulate more than 20 million worth of properties in just 12 months. And I'm currently teaching people on how to safely, responsively, as well as creatively to leverage on achieving the financial freedom via property investment. So without further ado, I will kickstart the session with my first slide. Okay, right, this is supposed to be the first slide, which is about my experience. Anyway, just some quick disclaimer. Being a typical banker that works in a bank for more than 11 years, by the way, I'm still young. Uh, being a typical banker, I may use some jargons along the way. So if you have any questions, do send them to Casey, where I will address towards the end of the session. Correct, Casey?
Yeah,
They can
just
send
type
over
in
to you,
yeah,
right?
they can just type in the chat box. So we'll get to it whenever is appropriate.
Okay, okay. I continue. Okay. Especially in the in the most recent couple of years, we have heard many new guidelines that has been implemented by the central bank, as well as implemented by all the banks. Certain guidelines, or most of the guidelines that we hear, are like responsible lending guidelines, reference rate framework, uh, risk-informed pricing, and how does this actually impact your property investment journey? Very often, these guidelines seems to be jargon to everyone, and the details that is affecting your property investment journey, things that you may hear from the bank are like the debt service ratio, which is actually related to your commitment, and things like maximum mortgage tenure now it's capped at 35 years only, as well as things like when you refinance, the cash out portion is capped at 10 years only. So how does this actually really impacting the approval rates or the approval from the bank? Are the banks still lending in the current years? When we talk about whether the bank are still lending or not, we look at three key data from the Bank Negara statistics, where first of all, I would like to share with you, before I talk about whether are the banks still lending, whether are the banks still approving loans to people like us, we first of all look at whether do we apply from the bank. Is there still application from bank? Because typically if there is no application from all of us, there is not going to be approval from the bank as well. So we look at this chart. This chart shows new loan application for residential properties, as well as at the bottom there are two charts here, at the top and at the bottom. At the top is showing the total applications in ringgit value for residential loans, and the bottom shows non-residential loans. Non-residential loans is referring to commercial loans like Soho, Sovo, shop lots, offices, and etc. Residential loans is typically the condo, the landed property, the house that we are saying. So you can see the new loan application actually it's on an increasing trend since 2006 until now, and it peaked at 2013. And it slowed down a little bit last year, and this year we're seeing similar trend like 2014. Same goes to the non-residential loans, where it also peaked at 2013 and it slowed down in 2014. And typically it also slowed down when we zoom in into 2015, it actually slowed down in quarter one, and we see quarter two it moved back to be similar level like 2014. Okay, these are the numbers of new loans that is being applied by the consumers or people like us. So what about whether are the bank really approving or rejecting? We move on to the next slide. It shows the ringgit value of loans that is being approved by the bank. Just now we saw the submissions or the applications of loans peak in the year of 2013 for both residential loans as well as non-residential loans, where it shows here the same. The approval peak in 2013 for both residential loans as well as non-residential loans. But one thing surprisingly to all of us is the number of approval or the amount of approved loans in 2013 stays the same for residential loans as well as non-residential loans. So what does this mean to us? This simply means the banks are still lending, especially in the year of 2014 versus 2013, even though we did not put in applications as much as in 2013, but the bank still approved with the same amount of about 121 billion in 2014 for residential loans as well as for non-residential loans. So this simply means the banks are still there, the banks are still doing business. I think this is very common. When we go to any businesses in the world, banks are just like any business in the world where the bank is here to do business. The bank need to achieve the targets. The bank need to deliver the financial results or the profit results to their board of directors, to their shareholders. The banks, even though we did not put in the same amount of applications in 2013, in 2014 they still find ways to approve and to maintain at least they are doing the same business in 2014. But of course, we see some, when we zoom into non-resi loans, we do see a slight drop when it comes to 2015. So 2015, it's even a more challenging years when it comes to approval. I move on to the next slide when we look at the approval rates. By the way, the amount that we are showing here, it's for the entire year. For example, 2013 is 121 billion, same goes to 2014, and we do not have the figure for 2015 because we have the data until Q2. We have not gotten the full year, but you can see the chart is actually trending similar way like 2014. Okay, we move on to the approval rates percentage. Good news to residential loans, the bank it's approving even more in 2014 and a slight drop in 2015. When we move to non-residential loans, like loans for shop lots, offices, it seems to be dropping slightly in 2015, and it's even has off the peak. The peak actually happens in 2011, 2012. It's a little bit stressful for non-residential loans coming into the year of 2013, 2014, and 2015. So you can see even at the moment, after the first 2 quarters in 2015, the approval rate is trending at about 40 plus, low 40% in the year of 2015. Mm-hmm. So what are the challenges that is facing everyone? How come there are a lot of rumors in the market or in surrounding us saying that the bank are not really lending? The bank are actually closing their taps. It is true that to a certain extent, the bank is becoming more and more prudent in their practice. this is also due to the guidelines, as I explained to you beginning of the presentation, where there are quite a number of new guidelines implemented, especially in the last 2 years, where all those guidelines actually focusing on promoting prudent lending, promoting responsible lending, where the banks are being advised or being checked by Bank Negara to practice responsible lending. So in order to stay, of course, yeah, as you can see from the slides, there are still about 50% of the loans are being approved by the bank. So it's whether we know the trick or we know the details of it, and we always stay on top of the game to be half of the population that are being approved by the bank, or we do not understand the game and we stay below the line or below the average. So how do we actually stay on top of the game? This leads to my next slide, where in order to give tips about how you can get your loans approved now or even beyond, I would like to share with you what are the common or what are the top 10 reasons loans are being rejected by the bank. And along the way also, I will share with you tips about how to overcome them. So where this is important, when you know the reason why your loans may be rejected, so you should work towards plan yourself or dress up yourself so that the bank loves you, and avoid yourself from falling into one of these reasons where the bank will have a reason to reject your applications. Okay, I move on to the first reason of all, which is very often you may hear the bank reject your applications, where the bank may say, hey, Mr. or Madam, you're not eligible to apply loans from us, or you're not our target market. So what does the bank means by that? The very first criteria that the bank look at when you apply from the bank on your house financing or your property financing is the minimum age. The general minimum age in Malaysia is 21 years old, and there are one or two banks in Malaysia where they set their minimum age at 25. So you don't be surprised when if you're young people out there, you just came out to work and you went and applied for a housing loan, and the bank rejects you or the bank deny your applications because you're below 25 years old. Do not be surprised. There are actually two banks that practice 25 years old, where they do not lend to you. They may ask you for additional joint borrower with the parents or someone older than you. So do not stop there. You may actually go to other banks. There are about 20 over banks out there. There are still about 20 banks that is actually lending to age from 21 onwards. So that is the minimum age. And income is a key criteria when it comes to giving loans by the bank to us. So the minimum income requirement for house financing is 2,000 monthly income as the minimum. Of course, certain banks also set their benchmark at the minimum of 3,000 or at a minimum of 5,000. Most of the banks are still setting at 2,000. If you do not meet the 2,000 mark, or you wish to increase your eligibility in terms of your income, there are ways like you can always joint purchase or joint borrow the financing with someone else. Okay, I move on to the next item under this non-eligibility or non-target market. Sometimes you may also hear the bank when you are buying a property, and when you go to the bank may also tell you, oh, sir or madam, we do not finance this area. There are certain area in Malaysia where is, for example, if the location is a little bit outskirts from the city, the bank may not finance. And of course, the very famous location, if I want to quote locations where certain banks may not finance the location, is when you buy property over there, you sure make money. It's a place called you buy, you sure untung, which is Bukit Beruntung. I think most of you you know where is Bukit Beruntung. Certain properties in Bukit Beruntung, the bank are still not lending. So if you are investing in location as such, so you need to be careful, because banks may not lend to those areas. Okay, and when I move on to the next items under this non-eligibility, which is EF line full. When we are purchasing a property from the developer, So first of all, we need to know who are the panel banks that the developer are paneling with, are working with. Panel bank means you can actually apply a mortgage financing to finance your property when you're buying from the developer. You can only apply from those banks that are the panel banks for that project. You cannot apply from the bank beyond that. For example, let's say the developer panel with 5 banks, and they're bank A, B, C, D, E. You particularly like bank A. So you walk into bank A and tell, hey, Mr. Bank A, I want to apply from you. But sometimes if you are not early in purchasing this property, not early means maybe the project has been launched by the developer for more than 3 months, 6 months, or even 1 year. Bank A may tell you, oh sir, sorry, even though we are the panel bank, but our EF line is full, or our quota full. You may be very puzzled and say, hey, what do you mean by quota full? I still have 90% quota, or my quota is still empty. I am very empty and I'm very hungry for loans. So the bank will tell you, no, our quota full. Actually, the quota full here means certain bank EF line or the end financing limits means, for example, let's say a project worth 100 million. The bank, when they panel that project, they may take a certain limit to finance that project only, where they actually cap the exposure to their project. For example, they cap it at 10%. So meaning they're going to lend only 10 million to the project. If there is already a 10 million loans that has been approved by them under this project, they will close the taps and they will not lend to anyone else. So if you are late in buying the property projects from the developer, you may need to look for other banks. Because as I explained to you, there are 5 panel bankers. You need to move on to other banks, even though you prefer Bank A, but Bank A may have that EF line full, so you need to move on to other banks to apply from them. Okay, and of course, there are another thing that fall under this first reason is no such offer. No such offer refers to sometimes there are certain banks who do not offer to financing like bungalow land or agricultural land, or even to certain offices, they may not offer financing to those property. Hence, you need to go and check with other banks. It doesn't mean one bank do not offer that the rest of the banks are not offering. You just need to go to other banks to check out whether what is the practice. Of course, very often also sometimes you hear bank says, oh, this is Bank Negara guideline where we are not lending to you. To a certain extent, sometimes that reason is being used too much or too often by the bankers. Sometimes it is not true. Most of the time, it is actually due to the practice or the policy by the bank more than it's actually a hardcore rule from the central bank or from Bank Negara Malaysia. For example, maybe I want to give you a typical scenario before I move on to explain to you with the rest of the reasons. A typical scenario, like let's say I am now telling all of you here where I've eaten breakfast this morning. So for example, maybe I go to the first person, or let's say Mr. A. I inform Mr. A I've eaten breakfast. Mr. A may think, okay, Gary has eaten breakfast and Gary is very full now, so Gary is not good for even a cup of tea or any more dessert. And when I move to Mr. B and I inform Mr. B that I've eaten breakfast, Mr. B may think, okay, Gary has eaten breakfast, but it never stopped me from asking Gary out for a cup of coffee or tea now. And when I move to Mr. C and I inform Mr. C that I've eaten breakfast, Mr. C may think, oh, Gary has eaten breakfast, but it doesn't mean Gary is not good for another meal. So that's why a simple guidelines from Bank Negara Malaysia, let's say Gary has eaten or Gary has already gotten a loan. If I move to Bank A may have their interpretation of guidelines and they may think, okay, Gary has gotten a loan with him and he's not good for any other things. When I move to Bank B may think, okay, Gary has gotten a loan with him, but he's still good for another credit card or a car loan. When I move to Bank C may even think about, with this one simple liner, Bank C may think, or the person C may think, Gary is still good for another loan. It doesn't mean Gary has gotten one loan. It is not good for us to give him another loan. So that's why a simple guideline, it may be different interpretation. When you go to a bank, if one particular bank tells you that they do not lend please go and ask for other banks whether those banks lend to you or not. Do not stop your journey over there. Do not stop the action over there. Okay? So I move on to reason number 2, which is employment. Employment is a key thing when it comes to financing or getting a financing from the bank, because employment actually shows how is our capability and also stability in paying back the loan to the bank. It is very normal for the banks to evaluate how capable we are in paying back, because typically if we were to lend to anyone, let's say I want to borrow some money from you, the first thing I believe you ask me is also what is my income, what is my employment, whether am I having a stable employment with me, am I working in a company, having a good pay, having a good job, and it's very stable, it is not a contract job. So similarly, bank has similar practice as well. So under employment, if you're starting a new job, you need to take note here. If you just came out to work after your graduations, if you're starting a new job, the bank may require your job confirmation before they start lending to you. So you may need to wait for at least 6 months to get your job confirmation, then only you're going to apply. Most of the bank, they do not lend to you if you're new, you just came out to work and you have less than 6 months in your job. Most of the bank, they do not lend to you. Okay, so that you need to take notes. And when it comes to employment, I think very importantly is a lot of self-employed people or bosses out there. You are doing your own business. Typically, it is important that if you are running a business your own, first of all, you need to register your business so that the bank recognize. Register your business means here where you need to register or incorporate your business so that there is a record where, because when you go to the bank, when you tell the bank that, okay, Mr. Bank AM, I'm doing this business, typically the bank will ask you, okay, show me the proof whether you're doing this business. So you need to show them, if you are a Sembilan Berhad company, you need to give the bank Borang 9, 24, 44, 49, all those business registration forms to show the bank that your business has been running for how many years, and where that shows your employment or your business. Okay, and when it comes to self-employed also, what I want to stress on a self-employed is, if you are running a business, typically the bank may recognize your income from your Borang B, as well as maybe from your company bank accounts or bank statements. So if the bank may recognize your income via these 2 ways. Of course, typically we all know, I think all of us know, when it comes to Borang B, when it comes to tax deduction, very often where self-employed will declare lower income than what they actually earn. And this actually always happen to my students as well. I have students who came to me and say, oh Gary, I earn 50,000 or I make 50,000 a month from my business. Then I say, oh, very well. So how about how much you declare last year? So he proudly informed me that, Gary, I declare 50,000 a year. So there's a very classic case where your income level is at 50,000 every month, but you only declare 50,000 a year, means you're only making 4,000 plus a month. If you are only earning 4,000 plus a month, it makes your capability to apply for a loan or to purchase or to get a financing of above 500,000, 600,000 to be even tough. Not even to mention where now most of the property in Klang Valley, it's close to 1 million ringgit. So that will definitely give an hindrance to you getting the financing from the bank. So you need to take note on that. When it comes to recognizing the income from your business, so the bank may use one way, which is Borang B, to derive income. Another way is using your company bank accounts. So first of all, not only you need to register your company, you also need to be aware that the bank may also derive your income from your company bank statement. If you are dealing with cash in your business, do make sure that you bank in those cash in your company bank statement, because typically how bank recognize income from your company bank statement is the bank will look at your last 6 months transactions, and the bank will look at the total amount of credit coming in every month, the bank will take an average credit of your cash flow every month and apply a profit margin to it in order to derive income. For example, I give you a very typical. I may sound a little bit complicated here. I give you a very quick example. Like, let's say you are doing a business. You have a cash flow every month, money in and out, doesn't matter. There's money in and money out. The amount of money in, for example, let's say in the last 6 months is about 100,000 on an average every month. So the bank will take this 100,000 and the bank will apply a profit margin normally the bank will apply a 10% profit margin. Of course, the profit margin differs from 5% to 20 or 25% depending on the industry that you are in the industrial business that you are in. Typically, the bank will apply a 10%. Most of the industry is fall under 10%. So 10% profit margin will be the profit that you are making, that the bank is assuming that you're making from this business. So for example, if your monthly cash flow or turnover is about 100,000 times 10%, your income is actually 10,000 from your business. So if you're a sole proprietor, then your money income recognized by the bank is going to be 10,000. If it is a partnership, then it's going to be half, which is 5,000. And if it's a minimum part, that will be depending on your shareholding. So that is actually how bank derive your income from your company bank statement. Of course, one key note that I want to highlight to everyone, or along the way in my presentation, I will be also giving tips on how you should do or what you should do in order for you to be able to get loans from the bank. Is one thing you need to note is do declare at least certain amount of tax, because there are banks. Recently, there are 2 banks that they are not recognizing your income from the company bank statement already. They are only solely taking your borang B. So, meaning in the market, the bank are actually closing down on using company bank statement. They prefer the borang B more, or at least they may compare. So do not do the things like your company bank statement is very, very healthy. For example, you are having a turnover of about 1 million a month, where it shows you make 100,000 in the business, and if you are having 50% share, meaning you are making 50,000 a month, but you only declare 5,000 a month. So try to close that gap so that it will not be that huge. The bigger the gaps, the bank may be reluctant to recognize your company account or company income. Okay, so try to strike a balance over there. Okay, that is for
Gary,
self-employed.
Gary,
And
talking about this, we
yes,
have a question
that's
from
question.
Daniels is asking, how about switching job? Like, how does it affect our application?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Where I'm about to talk about switching jobs also. Typically, when you are switching your jobs, if you're moving from the same industry to another, to the same industry, meaning, let's say, for example, you're moving from Shell to Petronas, there is no issue at all. Most of the time, the bank do not require a job confirmation. But if you're moving from one industry to another new industry that you have no experience in that industry, most of the time, the bank also will request for a job confirmation, unless you are already very senior in your job, or unless you are taking up a high post. So, but this kind of high posting might be a little bit subjective. So when you are switching job, it will be good if you have a plan to purchase a property for investment or for own stay. Purchase and get financing from the bank before you switch. Unless you are switching to a very good job, same industry, then no issue. Please go ahead. Okay, that's for switching jobs. And when it comes to salary by cash, it's also important where if you are self-employed and you have having a business with you and you're paying salary to yourself, or you're paying salary to your relative, to your siblings, or even to your wife or to your husband, do make sure that you do not pay the salary by cash. It has to be a documented document for the bank. When the bank look at your employment, look at your income. So do not pay the salary by cash. Please bank in from the company account to that particular person's account, and do take note that you need to also make sure the salary is actually, number one, EPFable. You do pay EPF, you do pay SOCSO, SOCSO is standard at 14 ringgit and 75 cents for everyone, and you do contribute to tax deduction, which is PCP deductions if it is applicable. Okay, those are the things that you need to take note. If you are paying a salary to yourself or to your wife, and you want to use this payslip to go and apply from the bank, do make sure that the payslip is properly done. Okay, so I move on to the next reason. Of course, do send in your questions.
Yeah, there's another question. Do you want to address it? It's about the self-employed. So, Rizwan is a concern about, say, a self-employed earning just 5 to 7,000 a month, and then if the bank is looking at his account and then just say 10% profit margin, so he'll be like making 500 to 700. So how is it?
Okay, that's a very valid question. You need to make sure. So there are things that you can do, okay, which is tips to you. Where I think we have a closed door today, right? We do not have. Hopefully, there's no banks that are listening today. So there are a few things you can do. Number one is, if typically your business is really cash in nature, so do bank in those cash. Number one. Number two. You understand that the bank recognize about 10% of your money cash flow. So what you can do to overcome this is you can actually overcome this by declaring higher tax, where you can ask the bank, or the bank will also can recognize your income from Borangbi instead of your company bank accounts. As I explained to you, the bank is flexible both way. Most of the bank, they take your company accounts because the bank also know that all the bosses out there, they do not declare tax. They have a very healthy business. They are making a lot of money, but they do not declare tax. So there are a few ways that you can do. Number one is do make sure your cash that you get, you bank in. Number two, you declare higher tax in order to reflect your actual income rather than depending on a company bank account. Number three, another tips for you is, and please do not mention my name if you do this, is you can also bank in more money to your account to make the transition to be stronger, to reflect your true income. The purpose is to reflect your true income. Okay, and another thing that you can do is also, if you're having a business and the business is running for, of course, when you're running a business, when the bank recognizes that your income from your company bank account or bank statements, it has to be at least more than 2 years. Else they will slowly take your Borangbi as your income recognition. Make sure your income is your business is running stable, where it includes register income and register your company, as well as please do have another thing that I want to highlight to everyone is please do have an audited account, P&L, all those things every year. Please do not miss this, because the bank is not taking the income from this audited account, but it is a necessity when it comes to documentations to the bank, where the bank will take that. So coming back to Rizwan's question is there are a few things that you can do. Number one, as I said, bank in those cash that you receive. Do not leave it and use it. Bank in, then you can withdraw, no problem. Bank in, withdraw, use it. Number two is you declare tax in Borangbi. That's another way in order for the bank to recognize your income. Number three is you can also bank in more money into your bank statement to make that your cash flow is stronger. And number four is also you can also do out a payslip for yourself or for your wife in order for you to reflect your actual earning from that business. Okay, but of course it has to make sense. Meaning, let's say you're running a business cash flow with about 50,000-60,000 a month. You don't be over doing it with let's say you are issuing a payslip for yourself of 20,000, then your wife another 10,000. So it has to make sense at the end of the day. So do not also over jack up the income, so that when it goes to the bank, then it doesn't really sound logical. So whatever you do, it has to be logical when it comes to the bank. I think it's also same thing, that it's just common sense, where if I'm telling you I'm running a business for less than 2 years and my cash flow every month is about 50,000-60,000, but I'm paying myself 20,000 income or payslip, so you may also doubt whether is it a true reflection of my income. Okay, so I move on to reason number three. and in terms of income documents and recognition. Hey, in terms of income documents, typically if you are an employee working in a company and you have a fixed income means your income is solely based on basic or maybe some allowances. So that is simple in terms of documentation. You just need to submit 3 months payslip and 3 months 3 months salary crediting bank statement. And sometimes the bank may also ask you for EA form or EPF just to validate your income. That's very standard for an employee earning a fixed income. If you are an employee earning a variable income or your income fluctuates, for example, if you are a salesperson, you are insurance agent, you are a property agent where your income is actually based on commissions and incentive, most of the time the bank will ask you for 6 months statements, 6 months payslips, 6 months commission statements, 6 months bank statements. Okay, and one tips that I want to share with all of you is, we know business fluctuates or your performance fluctuates. Sometimes you may be earning higher commissions 6 months ago, but not in the most recent 6 months. So what should you do then? The bank never stopped you, or you should never stop there. If the bank asks you for 6 months, you should always ask the banker and say, hey, Mr. Banker, can I give you 9 months or 12 months because 6 months ago my income is higher? Can I give you more? And most of the bank, they do take more. If giving a 12-month statements can reflect a higher income or a true income of your earning, please do give up to 12 months. It never stops you from giving 12 months. So do not stop there at 6 months. Yeah, if in the last 6 months your income is not good because of due to certain reasons, let's say your money hasn't come in, your deal has gone through, but you haven't collected the money, all those things. So do adjust yourself. And of course, if in the last 6 months your income is higher than the last 12 months, please do not give 12 months, only give 6 months. Okay, so that's one tips to you. And when I talk about other income, for example, you are already a property investor and you have tenancy income coming in. The bank recognizes tenancy income as well, but do make sure things that you need to do with the tenancy is, number one, do make sure your tenancy is stamp. Number two, do make sure your tenancy income is banked into your bank statement. If you're receiving the tenancy via cash, please bank in yourself. Okay. Number three, if let's say for example you have a sloppy tenant, the tenant don't pay you on time, so what should you do? My advice to you is you bank in yourself to make sure that the transaction is there when the bank requests. Because typically when the bank recognizes your tenancy income, the bank will ask for a stamp tenancy, and most of the bank will ask for 3 months bank statement to show that the tenant, the rental income is coming in. Certain banks ask for 6 months. They are actually the bank actually divide into 3 different categories. First category of the bank, where there are 3 banks out there, they only require stamp tenancy. They do not even require 3 months bank statement. Second category is the bank which is the most practiced in Malaysia, is they request for a stamp tenancy as well as 3 months bank statement. There are another category of banks where they ask for 6 months bank statements. Of course, there's also one bank where it's a little bit crazy. They ask for stamp tenancy, they ask for 6 months bank statement, as well as they ask for S&P to prove as well. There's only one bank in Malaysia who does that. So if you go to the bank, it doesn't mean the rest of the banks are practicing that. There are even 3 banks in Malaysia where they only require a stamp tenancy, that's all. They do not even require a bank statement to show that your money is coming in. But of course, to increase your eligibility, to increase your the chances of you getting loans from banks, please do bank in your rental income so that you can go to most of the banks. Okay, I move on. Is there any other questions, Casey, before I move on to
Yes, we got one
reason number 4?
question. This is about okay, this is quite complicated. I'll read it out. How if it's
Okay.
working how is he's an employee, but it's still in the same industry. He's just change job, but the company pays doesn't contribute EPF. That means the company pays the 12% EPF portion actually directly to her. So she get a lump sum inclusive of the EPF or everything. So it's like, not contributing to EPF, but the money she got it lah. So so I do not need to pay income tax because this is a regional office with revenue attached to our distributor reseller. Will it be easy for me to get a loan of 600k? My DSR still allows, but it's the no income tax and no EPF that I'm worried about. What is your suggestion for this kind
Okay.
of situation?
I may want to clarify certain things like it is subjective when you go to the bank with such profile. I would like to also clarify one thing where is she being employed in Malaysia company? Did she say that in her questions?
No.
It's a Malaysia company.
Uh,
Maybe it's an overseas
I
company.
think it's
But anyway,
there is a
what I
regional
want,
office with revenue attached to a distributor. No, not sure.
okay. First of all, my answer to that is it is against the law where there is no contribution in terms of EPF as well as there's no tax contribution. I think that our government has made it very clear that that has to be done. So I think my advice to you is you should check with your company how come that is not being done. Number two, I would say it becomes subjective when you go to the bank. The bank may still recognize your income if the rest of the thing is properly done. The rest of the thing is properly done means, first of all, yes, you are working in this company, you're earning such income. Yes, it cannot be proven via EPF or tax deduction. My next question to you is, do you declare tax yourself? If you do declare tax yourself, the bank, I would say the bank will still recognize your income. If you do not even declare your income into tax, then I would say the chances of you getting a loan from the bank, it's almost equals to impossible, because there is no way that the bank can verify your income. It is as good as I'm telling the bank that I'm working for this company and the company is paying me money, but there is no EPF, there is no PCB deduction, and I do not declare my income. So that in a way it becomes fishy to the bank. When it becomes fishy to the bank may not lend to you. So at least if you have declared that income from last time until now, at least in 2014, then the bank will still recognize your income. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, I move on to reason number 4, which is now I move on to how the bank actually process. So earlier on, the first 3 criteria is more about whether are you eligible for the loans, what kind of documents that the bank require from you, or who you are that the bank lend to you. Now I move on to after you submit your applications, so how does the bank process your applications? So now gone are the days where the bank is using way like 8 or 10 years ago, we often hear about if you go to the branch manager, if you know the branch manager may give you a loan of 300,000, 500,000, the branch manager has the authority to sign. So, and typically this is a community banking where most of the time you know me, I know you, the branch manager may help you. So you help me, I help you kind of things. But gone are those days. There's no longer you help me, I help you. Or I know you, you know me. All the applications that you submit to the bank now will be channeled to the headquarters or the credit center to process. And when you channel to the headquarters or the credit center to process, they have different system in place to process our applications. First system that they use is called the application score. The application score is an engine where it scores, you give a scores to each and every one of us. It is like us going to an exam hall where we fill up the details, our answer, then it will be scored, whether it's correct or wrong. Okay, this score engine takes the details of our profile or demographic details. I think all of us are aware that when you go to apply for a housing loan from the bank, we are required to fill up the long, detailed application forms. We fill up where do we stay, where do we work, even to a certain extent of our spouse details or how many siblings or whatever. All those details are actually very important details, because those details is actually won't give you a score. They use those details to do profiling. They use those details to give you a score. And how does this score affect you? If your score is bad, your application may be rejected, And very often, this application score is being used to judge, for the bank to judge whether what is the suitable margin to be given to you. For example, even though you still have 90% margin or quota with you, but the bank may choose to give you 85% only if your score is low. And very often, the bank also uses this score to assign you an interest rate. Assign you, or meaning to offer you an interest rate. If your score is low, the interest rate for you might be higher than those score high. Okay. Again, few tips for you in order for you to score better, or certain criteria that you may ask me. Hey, Gary, I often get these questions where, hey, Gary, what kind of criteria that the bank score higher or give a higher marks? The criteria are like, if you are female, you are married, you score higher. If you are at the age of 30 to 50, you score higher. And typically, if you are staying in a good location, you score well as well. And of course, another thing that you need to take note, and some tips for you is, number one, you do make sure that you are filling up the forms correctly. Do not simply, the first key thing that I want to highlight to everyone is, when a banker passes you a form, or when a banker is interviewing you and he's filling up the form for you, do make sure that you give a complete information to the banker, so that he did not miss out any important details that may affect your score. And very often also, if you are, for example, let's say you are staying at that location and the house belongs to you, please do put in or declare correctly. Where you stay will seriously affect your score. For example, if you are staying at the very famous location like Bukit Beruntung, your score will be low. Okay, and if you are staying, of course, like if you are staying in Damansara, Bangsa, your score will be high. Okay, that is also a very typical thinking, or very typical way of bank doing things. Is also similar like us. If you have a friend who stay in Bukit Beruntung versus, by the way, with no offense to those who are staying in Bukit Beruntung, if you have a friend staying in Bukit Beruntung or more outskirts, versus if you have a friend staying in Damansara, so who do you prefer to lend to? So it's a similar thinking, or it's a similar concept when it goes to the bank. Okay, if you're staying at outskirts, you may be getting a lower score. Another thing is, if you are renting a place, that may give you a lower score also, because you are always moving. For example, I explained to you in layman term as well, where if today I want to borrow money from you, and I'm telling you that I am now staying in Damansara, it's a good location, but I'm renting a place, and I always move. You often notice the bank will ask you, where do you stay now? Okay, this house, does it belong to you? How long you have been staying there? So actually those questions is very important questions, because the longer you stay at the same location, and if the property belongs to you, your score will be a lot higher to those that were renting a place. Because typically when a bank lends to us, the first question that comes to the bank's mind, or when we borrow money to someone else, the first question that comes to our mind is, how do we collect back? Right? So when it comes to collection, if a person is staying at that location permanently, or the person has been staying there, the chances of the person moving is low. That person will get a higher score, because it becomes easier for the bank to do collection. Because sometimes not only the bank will call us to remind us about our payment, if they meet up with a difficult customer, let's say the customer are not paying, is sloppy, and it is not answering call as well, the bank may also invite people to go to our house to invite us to make payment. Yes, the bank will do that. And so that's why it's important to make sure that you provide the right information when it comes to where you are staying. So one trick to you is, if you are moving, or you have let's say you are staying outside, or renting a place, but you do have a parent's house nearby, and you often go back to your parents' house, maybe selecting to declare your parents' house where you have been staying there for long is a better option than you are telling that, or you're staying outside, you're renting a house, or you're renting a room, or an apartment where you're moving. So that is a typical tips for you, in order for you to have to score better. Not only to increase your chance of getting the approval, it's also increase your chance of getting a cheaper rate from the bank.
So in this case, how do you answer?
move
Like,
on
do you
from-
own the property? So you say it's my parents' property. Do you say that?
Yeah, if it is your parents' property, I think what the banks want to know is when the bank asks you whether do you own the property, whether how long you've been staying there. The how long you've been staying there is the most critical
Oh,
criteria above all, because it shows stability, it shows trustworthy in locating you should anything happen. So that will give you a higher score. Will definitely give you a higher score because it makes the collection work easier. Okay,
okay, good.
so I move on to another thing. Okay, after you have passed through the application score, now comes another very important criteria. That is pre-screening of us on who we are. Now move on to when we submit our application to the bank will retrieve our credit information from CRIS. CRIS stands for Credit Reference Information System, Center Credit Reference Information System, where it contains all our credit facility details over there, and it's being kept by the Central Bank of Malaysia, which is Bank Negara Malaysia. Okay, in CRIS, it contains all our credit facilities, namely like housing loan, car loan, credit card, overdraft, personal loan, and etc. All our credit facility with the banks are being recorded there. But the bank can easily retrieve this information from the Bank Negara data warehouse and evaluate us. Okay, and in the recent couple of years also, new information has been registered into CRIS as well. Not only a housing loan, car loan, P loan, and credit card, P loan is personal loan, etc. That with all the banks are being registered there. Last time, NBSB loan is not being registered in CRIS. Now it is registered in CRIS. And last time, credit lender like BMW Credit, Tanjung Motor Credit are also not being registered in CRIS. But 2 years ago, he has been put into CRIS as well. So now CRIS can see all these loans. And recently, in the month of April, May, if you have a PT-PTN loan with you, and you have gotten the PT-PTN loan before 2010, you may need to be extra careful on this, where PT-PTN has put your record into CRIS. I have few members also have their PT-PTN loans being updated in CRIS. And when it is updated into CRIS, it means bad news for you because PT-PTN is taking those who do not make payment and update them into CRIS. Typically, I have seen few CRIS where when the PTN loan is being updated into CRIS, they have already missed 90 over months, missed 70 over months, meaning they've already missed payment for long. So that shows a very bad of you where the bank will decline your application. And surprisingly to me also, the bank is taking serious view about the payment on PT-PTN. Meaning if you have, let's say, other credit facilities in your CRIS, the rest of the credit facilities you are performing very well. You are paying on time, but your PT-PTN loan is being updated as you miss payment for quite a number of months, the bank will decline your application. Even to a certain extent of even though you have paid off, you have regularized now. So now you realize that you have a PT-PTN loan issue, you go and make payment, you clear all the outstanding payment that you have not made, bank will still reject. So this has really given headache to my members, where for those who have PT-PTN loan issue, they're really finding it very difficult to get loans from the bank. Not only they need to regularize it, the bank requests them to fully settle the PT-PTN loan. Then only the bank lends. So be careful on that. If you have PT-PTN loan, do go and make prompt payment. Do go and check it out whether is your PT-PTN loan being updated into your CRIS. Okay, you can easily print out your CRIS at Bank Negara office, where Bank Negara office in KL is near, it's opposite Royal Selangor, it's along Jalan Kuching. You just go there, bring your MyCard and also your thumb. Of course, you bring your thumb with you. You go there, you slot into a kiosk, you slot your MyCard into a kiosk, then you put your thumb for verification, then you can print out your CRIS at no cost to you. It's free printing. Okay, coming back to this credit score, the bank also have an engine to score us based on all our behavior in the CRIS. Okay, the bank will retrieve our secrets and look at all the details the bank will score. Some tips that I want to give to you in order for you to score well in this credit score is number one, do not overuse your credit card. If you have the need of using additional limit, for example, let's say you have now only one credit card and the limit is 10,000. If you need to use about 8,000 or 9,000 a month, please do go and get another credit card. Try to make sure that your utilization or your balance in that card is not more than 70%. Meaning you have 10,000, do not use more than 7,000 in one card. If you have 2 cards, 3 cards, you use 3,000-4,000 here, 2,000-3,000 there, it's okay. But you use one card, you have only one card, you use more than 7,000, it means bad for you. You will score lower. Okay, another tips that I want to share with everyone is sometimes Virgin may not be good. Okay, Virgin, when it comes to secrets, if you have zero record in secrets, you are Virgin in secrets, meaning you do not have any credit facilities with you, the bank may not lend to you. So you need to be aware of that.
That means there is no history of borrowing money.
How you can? Meaning credit facility. So for those youngsters out there, Virgin in secrets. For those youngsters out there, you just came out to work. I would suggest that you start with a credit card. 1 or 2 credit card is absolutely perfect for you. You start building the record for yourself, because it's very simple to understand why the bank has such practice. Is also when you have a credit record with you, the bank can actually gauge or judge what is your credit behavior. If you have zero secrets, the bank are not able to judge. And also based on the analysis that when I was in the bank, we also done an analysis on for those who have secrets record versus those who do not have secrets record. For those who do not have a secrets record, when we give them a credit facility, the chances of them not paying back is 4 times worse off than those who has a secrets. So that's why it's important that you build your secrets record from young. Okay. Another thing is try not to have too many unsecured loans. When unsecured loans refers to you have too many credit cards. Too many credit cards is referring to you have more than 3 or 5 credit cards with you, and you have a lot of personal loan with you, and you have no housing loan or car loan. So try to have a good mixture in terms of your loan. Do not only take all the credit cards and personal loan with you. That will give you a lower score as well. Okay, of course, most importantly is do pay your credit cards or bills or your car loan or housing loan, service them on time. Do not be sloppy on your payment, because if you are paying on time, your score will be high. Okay, I move on to very quickly. I move on to reason number 6. After you pass the application score as well as the credit score, if you have a very bad behavior, you see, application score and credit score, or credit score in particular, is an overall of you in your secrets. After you pass that, the credit officer may still look at your case and may still look at your secret and see whether do you behave badly in any items or in any credit facility. For example, you have 5 facility with you. 4 facility you're performing very well, and 1 you perform badly. Maybe you have missed 3 months payment or 4 months payment. Even though on an overall basis you still pass the score, but the credit officer will still reject your case. Very bad behavior refers to you miss 3 months payment, 4 months payment, where your application may be rejected. Okay, another thing where your application may be rejected is, as I explained to you, make sure your credit card is not overspent. For example, let's say you need to swipe for a high ticket. The high ticket item is worth 11,000, but your credit limit is only 10,000. So split it to 2 credit cards. Have another spare credit card. Split it to 2 transactions. Do not spend the entire 11,000 into a card. If you have over limit, you spend over your credit limit, the bank may also reject your application. And of course, when you're applying a housing loan from the bank, try not to overstress your secrets at the same time. Meaning, at the same time, do not apply for many credit cards, then apply for personal loan as well, because you are planning to take a renovation or whatever. So if you put in everything at one go, all your application, you apply from the bank, all can be seen in secrets as well. And loan application is actually updated real time, be it the same day or the next day. So the banks can, when they retrieve the secrets, can see all your pending applications, whether the applications is still pending, approved, or being rejected by the bank. Okay, and move on to reason number 7. On top of the credit score as well as the credit rules that or the credit issues that the bank may reject you, there are also other things in secrets where you need to be aware of. For example, sometimes we have up and downs in our life. So sometimes we may have difficulties in making payments in our loans. For example, let's say during certain period of time, maybe your sales is low, your commission is low, so you are sloppy in your payment. You always miss 1 month payment or you miss 2 months payment, then the bank may give you a call. You may receive call from a bank and the banker may offer you a good package. For example, let's say they say, hey, Mr. A or Madam A, so you have some difficulties in making payment. They say, my payment is, I have not received my cash, my sales proceed has not come in. So then the bank may offer you a package they say, the banker may say, how about I want to offer you 3 months payment holiday or 6 months payment holiday. Is that sounds good to you? If you think that sounds good to you, the moment you engage into such scheme from the bank, you also earn your ticket to Holland. When I say it's a joke, it's a joke. If you earn your ticket to Holland means you will not be able to get the credit facility from other bank thereafter. Because once you engage into such a program, the bank will put a S status in your secrets. S means reschedule. The reschedule is when you allow or you agree or you subscribe to the program that you do not pay for the next 3 months or do not pay for the next 6 months. So basically the bank reschedule your repayment period from 20 years, add on another 3 months or 6 months. So that is not good. So do not take it if you can. Try not to engage into such program. Restructure or T status is even worse than that. When you have difficulties in payment, the bank may also ring you and say, hey, Mr. A or Madam A, do you want to, we have a special program now. Maybe instead of you paying back in 5 years, we can extend your tenure to 10 years. So do not ever accept that, because that they will also put a status to your secrets as T, restructure your loans. Of course, K status is even worse off. KPK is you cannot make payments to many credit facilities that you have in the bank. Then you engage in the KPK, there will be a K status in the secrets, where this status will be there for long, and once other banks see this status in the secrets, they will not lend to you anymore. Okay, and typically when I'm here, there is one typical question that may come from the floor is, Jerry, how about refinancing? Refinancing is totally okay. It's absolutely nothing to do with ST okay. Refinancing is just a normal loan. If you are doing a refinancing with other bank and you extend your tenure, let's say now you have left 10 years now, you want to refinance another bank and get 20 years, that has absolutely nothing to do with ST okay. So they're absolutely fine. Okay, I move on to legal status. Sometimes we may have some dispute with the bank where the transaction is not made by you, it's a fraud transaction or whatever. Try to resolve those issues as soon as possible, and do not engage into a quarrel or disalignment with the bank where the bank may give you a summons or you do not make payment until the bank want to summon you or want to make you a bankrupt. So all those things has also bad influence on your secrets, where when you go into legal status with the bank may also put up 10, 11 or 12. They may put a number next to your facility in secrets where you will be rejected by other banks also when you want to apply for other banks thereafter. Okay, I move on to reason number 8, which is decheck. Decheck is referring to typically, especially for businessmen out there, for bosses out there, we have checking facility, and please be reminded that your check money is actually coming from your current account. Okay, it's not from your saving account. Make sure you do not enter into any bounce check. When you write a check or issue a check, make sure your money is in your current account and you have sufficient funds before you write a check. Because if you have bounce check, the check means bounce check. This bounce check record will be kept into Bureau Maklumat check. And even though you bounce it in Bank A and then you bounce it in Bank B and Bank C, different banks, the record also will be kept there. And you have bounce check more than 2 times or 3 times in the last 12 months, the bank will also decline your application. So it's serious. Not only the bank may close your account, your current account with that bank because you bounce check. Other banks, when they see this bounce check information in Bureau Maclumat check, they will also decline your application even though you have passed the rest of the criteria that I've just explained to you earlier. Okay, so it's important. And move on to reason number 9, which is bankruptcy. I think bankruptcy is quite simple to everyone, or easy to everyone, where if you're being made a bankrupt by anyone, where your record will be registered into CITOS, and if you are being bankrupt by the bank, your record will be found in CRIS. So of course, try not to be bankrupt by anyone, because once you are bankrupt, it will be also very tough for you to get any loans from the bank. Okay, and I move on to the final most important reason of all, which is DSR. DSR is debt service ratio, which is a formula to evaluate what is your capability in repayment, or what is a repayment capability. And very often you may hear the banker tells you, "Oh, sir or madam, we cannot accept your application because you have high commitment." When they talk about high commitment in CRIS or high commitment review, they are actually referring to DSR calculation or DSR percentage. And this DSR percentage has become the single most reject reason of all. Almost 50% of the applications is being rejected due to DSR issue. And I want to quickly also explain to you what is DSR. DSR is debt service ratio or debt service formula, where it calculates your affordability. It takes into consideration all your commitment in the bank, in your current CRIS, plus the new applications over your net income. Okay, and typically different bank has different DSR cutoff or DSR ratio, because you put a number on top. Let's say your existing commitment is 5,000. You add up with your new application is 2,000. So meaning on top you have 7,000, and your net income is 10,000. Your DSR percentage is 70%. Different bank has different DSR cutoff. Certain banks starts with 60%, all the way up to 90%. There are banks who cut off at 60%, 70%, 80%, 85%, all the way up to 90%. If you go to the bank A, for example, and the bank A says, "Hey, sir, you have high commitment," it doesn't mean that's the end of your journey. So you may also ask another questions to the bank and say, "Can I know what is your DSR cutoff?" If the bank tells you 60%, then meaning you still have chance. Maybe your DSR ratio, you can also ask the banker, what is my DSR ratio? If the banker is experienced enough, the banker will search or will find out the answer for you. And if once you get the answer, if you know you are 70%, it means you can still go to other bank and get your loan approved. Because there are banks, most of the bank is actually approving 80% or 85%. Okay, so do not go to the wrong bank, and when the wrong bank reject your application, that means the end of you. It doesn't mean you are high commitment in one bank, you are high commitment in the rest of the bank, unless your DSR percentage is above 100%. Okay, that's the end of my presentation. I would like to open up to the floor to ask me questions, or do send me your question to Casey. Casey, is there any other questions coming in?
Yeah, there's a lot. I don't think we can cover all of it here. The questions keep pouring in. But how about we go through the thing that you have a upcoming event, right? Let's talk about that. Let them know that they can actually go directly to you to get more things answered, right? What's your upcoming event?
Okay.
When is it? Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Casey. Okay, I have only about 1 hour. I already overstretched already. Too many story from me, too many explanations from me. I have a half-day workshop that I would like to offer to all of you. This event is actually happening, this half-day workshop, which is very much focusing on creative financing, where it allows me to have more time to explain to you about what are the winning formula that you can get your financing, how does the bank look at you, evaluate you, and more secrets that I'll be sharing in this workshop in order for you to have breakthrough in getting your loans or your financing from the bank. I would like to invite you to join this on the 12th September or on the 3rd of October. It's about 4-hour kind of workshop where I'll be sharing a lot more information with you in order for you to break the bank legally and get financing to fund your dream home or your property investment. you can actually go to this link that is being provided on the slide here. You click on the link and you will need to register. You need to pay. We charge a very special price because you are KC's member. We charge a very special price to you, where it is 70. It's only 47 ringgit for you to attend this workshop. And with this 47 ringgit, it comes with also one free book, one free mat, as well as one free webinar. You can actually click onto the link, and you will find those details in that link, and you can register accordingly on 12th of September or 3rd of October. And best of all, you pay 47 ringgit. You are not only getting one ticket, we are giving you a buy one free one. So meaning you pay 47 ringgit, not only you're getting the book, you're getting the map, you're getting a webinar, you are also get to invite your spouse or your friend to come together. So the value, the books, the maps that you're getting, it's a lot more than 47 ringgit that you're paying. It's just a small commitment from you so that we can have people register and we know how many, then we can prepare the material for you accordingly for the 12th of September as well as, or you can either come on the 12th or on the 3rd. It's the same workshop. If you are not available on the 12th, you can actually come for the 3rd of October.
Okay, that's nice.
Okay,
So
maybe
workshop
Casey-
here, I've pasted the link in the chat box, so they can just click that link in the chat box, and you will be able to visit there and register if you have the time to go to. So how about we just take the last three questions before we end the session. This is the first one is from
Okay.
Hassan. He said, I'm a director of a company, so it's a Sdn Bhd. Do I still need to contribute to my EPF, because typically director is entitled to allowance, not salary?
If it is a director allowance or a director fee, if it is not a salary, then you do not need to contribute the EPF. Of course, I'm not sure about when you talk about allowance here, are you referring to allowance, are you referring to director fee, or do you actually pay a salary to yourself? If the company is paying you a salary, you have to contribute EPF. The best person for you to check is to check with your accountant so that you actually fulfill or you actually are not against the law. If you are getting a salary, it will be EPF-able. If you're getting allowance or director fee, that is not EPF-able,
Okay.
which is quite standard.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So another question is if the investor is staying in Johor, so if he's buying house at Selangor, so will bank question that? What typically is the concern?
Also, that definitely the bank will not question that. There is no issue or there's no problem with you buying Selangor property. Likewise, I've also invested in Penang, Ipoh, as well as in Johor. There is no issue at all. When I talk about the credit scoring, it's more about where you're staying. If you're staying in a better location, give you a better score. If you're not staying in a good location, things that you can do to overcome that if you have the opportunity to. Now you know the tips is if your parents or your wife has another address, another location for you to stay where you sometimes you also go there. If that location is even better, you can choose to put that better location. But there's no issue at all that you're staying in Johor, that you're buying Selangor. No problem at all. That
Okay,
will not affect your score as well.
Good, so no issue for this. And how about balance transfer?
Yeah.
Nowadays it's very common that we do balance transfer from credit card A to credit card B. So does that affect the secrets or anything?
You see, typically a balance transfer do affect your debt service ratio. It will not impact your secrets. It will not impact your secrets, meaning there are many multiple angles that you look at secrets, or there are many multiple angles. As I explained to you, you can see there are actually multiple angles that the bank look at your secrets. When you say you are taking a balance transfer, that will impact your balance, your credit card balance. Meaning, let's say you have card A, you spend 5,000 and you want to move this 5,000 to another card. And that card, if the credit limit is 10,000, you move this 5,000 over there, there's no issue because you never overstretch your credit card balance. And you do continue to pay. So there is no issue at all from credit score perspective or credit checking perspective. But this 5,000, of course, it will impact you on your debt service ratio, because how the bank calculate your affordability or your commitment percentage or your DSR percentage is they are taking the credit card balance, and they use 5% of your balance as your minimum commitment on that credit card. One thing also I want to clear here, because I also often get such question where people asking me, hey Gary, if you are asking me to have multiple credit cards, I have 2 or 3 credit cards. Let's say my limit all add up together is 50,000. Does the bank look at the 50,000 and assign my commitment accordingly, or look at my balance? The answer is, it's clear. The bank will only take your balance on that credit card limit. Let's say you have a 50,000 limit, you only spend 10,000 on an overall basis. The bank will take a 5% on the 10,000, meaning 500 ringgit is your monthly commitment that the bank take in order to calculate your DSR. It is never the credit limit.
Oh, I see. Great. And
Okay,
another thing is, can you tell us like which banks offering 75 to 90% DSR?
Normally in such open forum, I do not reveal the bank details, the bank name, because I try to limit myself on I'm not here to promote any bank, or I'm here to condemn any bank. What I would say is, it will be good that you come to the workshop and then you ask me personally. I may reveal the secret to you about what are the bank practice in personal.
In fact,
Okay, I
it
hope
change
that
also,
that's
right?
okay with all.
Sometimes maybe this bank they offer higher DSR, but next year they don't anymore. So it might change
Yeah,
also,
along the
right?
way they may change.
Okay, good. So
Yes.
there are too many questions. So we have like more than 50 that is not yet covered. So I don't think
Wow.
we can go through that. But I would like to thank you really personally for everything you have done for us today. So we actually learned a lot. You give us a lot of tips. So for those premium webinar members, you can watch the replay and make sure you jot down all the tips that's given by Gary. So you can go to his Gary Chua's Facebook page. Do we search Gary Chua in Facebook, we'll find you? Or do you have specific?
Yes.
Okay, good. So
Yes,
thank you very
very
much.
far. You're fine.
Thank you very much. And
Thanks, Casey. Thanks, everyone.
yes, to click the link at creativefinanceforinvestors.com/kclau.html. So I paste the link in the chat box. Just click that and see if you can meet Gary Chua in person. So thank you, everybody, and have a good day ahead. Bye bye.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks a lot, Casey, for having me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Gary. Bye bye.
Thanks.